It's another day, the sun is shining. Got to know what's going on around you. Wake up, it's the time to motivate your mind. Come with me, let's make this moment brighter. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Come on and wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Hey.
Good morning. Welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise, TGIF. I am Philip Simon.
And good morning, I'm Gandhi Pinder, filling in for Anastasia Palacios.
You know, Gandhi, the last several weeks and months, I kind of paused and hesitated a little bit every time I say TGIF. But you know what? In the midst of all of this, we still have to be grateful, right?
Right, definitely. We always have to give thanks. And that's the whole part about TGIF, thank God. But you know what, Phil, when you said TGIF, do you know what I thought? I said, why is Phil saying it's Friday? It's not Friday. I don't even know what day it is. All I could say is lockdown, baby, lockdown, baby.
You know, it's this week, despite the holiday, it still seemed pretty long. A lot of things are happening, not just in our country, but around the world.
Yeah.
You can obviously tell that we've been going through a tremendous increase in terms of percentages related to COVID-19, the infections, et cetera. And, you know, no matter what, right? A lot of talk, a lot of conspiracy theories, all the rest of these things are out there. But until you actually lose a loved one to this, it doesn't really quite hit home. And I think a lot of us are still kind of taking this thing for granted, despite the fact that what is happening is like right in front of us. So I just want to encourage people who are watching this to really take this thing seriously, man. We are the ones who have to really mitigate against the spread here in our own country. Obviously, we're suffering tremendously economically. But for those who would have lost loved ones, those who, obviously have sick relatives and friends, listen, our condolences to you.
Yeah, and because I think what compounds everything and the grief is that you want to pay respects in a particular way, but we're even limited in that regard. So yes, we must continue to pray. We must continue to be supportive. And we may see people online. We may see people in passing sometimes in the grocery store or standing on one of those long lines. Just remember to be kind because we do not know the battle that person is fighting. And so you're so right, Phil. You are so very right.
Also want to say condolences to my good friend Hank Ferguson on the passing of his father, John Lee. Obviously to him and the entire family. Again, on behalf of Bahamas at Sunrise and the Council's Group, condolences, my friend.
Yeah, condolences. You know, Phil, as we go through all of these things, it's like life is still happening. We still have to figure things out. We still have to figure out what's going on. And it's so important to find joy in the little things, even if you walk outside and, like I always say, catch the sunrise, catch the sunset, have prayer together with your family, devotions, watch good series on Netflix, learn together, grow together, pick up a new skill and just laugh. And, we always talk about positive energy and being around people who aren't toxic and cleansing your space. Now is the perfect time to do that. Just cleanse your space. Like they say, breathe in on Atlantic Medical, breathe out, and woosah.
Woosah indeed. But hey, here we are, Bahamas at Sunrise. We do this just for you. Today we have the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Craig Stubbs. He'll be here to join us and give us details on the national lockdown. We'll be talking, some people still seem to be confused between what's a lockdown, what's a curfew. We're going to be talking about all these things. And the good doctor is back in the house. Nakia Forbes will give us an update on the COVID-19 stats in the country at this time. We just keep on hearing about all of these cases. Even yesterday in the Sandlands Rehabilitation Center. So she's going to be here to break it all down for us. What else, Gandhi?
Yeah, so we give thanks for Doctors Hospital because I want to know about this COVID-19 strategy. And also, there's a great story about crabbing in Andros. So I can't wait to see that. I tried to catch a crab, the other day. And when I held the crab, yeah, that one time and the only time and the last time. And you have to hold it like it's a special way that you hold the crab, like behind the biters. And if you don't, woo. If you don't, then woo.
To get you from behind those curtains, Gandhi.
I tell you. So, Godfrey, right? This weather has been kind of dipping in and out and doing some interesting things since, oh Lord, say the name for me, Phil, with a hurricane would begin with that, right? We ain't doing it. So here to let us know all about that and so much more. Hopefully no lightning bolts this weekend. Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First in insurance, today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Gandhi. Morning, Bahamas. In your first look at weather sunrise, and Gandhi, you will see 1 or 2 lightning this weekend, so be prepared for 1 or 2, okay? For the night today in store weather-wise, do we have a high-pressure ridge across the islands, and that's producing some gentle breezes across the islands. Also, we're looking at an upper-level trough across the Inagua-Meguana area moving towards the west, and that will introduce some showers and thunderstorms across the islands during the weekend. But today, partly sunny, hot, and humid, with a few showers, isolated thunderstorms possible. Your high temperature reaching 92 degrees Fahrenheit, feel like 104. Tonight, another warm and muggy night in store. There's a chance of a few passing showers, maybe a thunderstorm popping up. Your low temperature going down to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. In your region highs and lows across the Caribbean, Barbados 83 and 80. In Jamaica 86 and 73. In Trinidad 84 and 77. And the Turks and Caicos Islands 91 and 80. Across North America, Atlanta 88 and 75. Raleigh 86 and 71. In Miami 88 and 79. Dallas, Texas 97 and 80. And Toronto, Canada 74 and 63. As we go to the weekend, lovely weekend store weather-wise, partly sunny, still hot and humid, but you're not really little showers and possible thunderstorms by afternoon. The temperature daytime will be in the lower 90s, at nighttime around the 80-degree mark. That puts you rocking your first look at weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Bahamas at sunrise will be back after the short commercial break.
Good afternoon. First response. How can I help you?
I've been in an accident on West Bay Street. Can you send someone to help?
Yes, ma'am. A first response team will be there in 15 minutes. Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, but a bit upset.
We're glad you're not hurt. Please, try to relax. Our team will take care of everything as soon as they arrive.
First Response provides immediate on-site service and support from the scene of an accident through the claims and repair process. And it's free to all Bahamas First insured drivers in New Providence, every day for any type of accident. If you drive and want first response on your side, call 32FIRST or visit bahamasfirst.com for the name of an authorized Bahamas First agent. First response can't prevent an accident from happening,
But it can certainly ease your mind when it happens.
Business in the Box is your solution for business from Cable Bahamas. It's an internet, voice, mobile, and advertising solution all in one place. Get reliable internet, free domestic call, and a live corporate package, and free TV ad placement, all starting with packages as low as $164 a month. You can save over $3,000 a year. Just call 601-8911. That's 601-8911. And ask for Business in a Box from Cable Bahamas Business Solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. The entire nation is on full lockdown until August 17th. We're happy to have the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Craig Stubbs in studio to tell us more about what the police is doing during this time period. Good morning. Welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. ACP Craig Stubbs. How are you, sir?
Pleasant good morning, Simon, and good morning to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I am well this morning.
Yeah, I was joking with you earlier, asking if that was a home office. You said home office what? Good to see that you are obviously to work early in the morning. I guess that's kind of been the theme for the last, not just several weeks, but several months with the Royal Bahamas Police Force.
That is correct. With the lockdown now, we have officers that would have been on duty from since 4 a.m. this morning to ensure that the lockdown process is enforced. We still have those residents or those individuals who still see fit to try to breach those protocols set up for the COVID pandemic. But we are on board and we are in for the long haul.
Well, so we've got another 2 weeks. It ends on the 17th of August. The Prime Minister says there might be a necessity to extend that. We're going to watch the numbers. But for those who are watching, there might be a little bit of confusion between what is a lockdown and what is a curfew. Can you clarify?
The lockdown is you remain at home, only for essential workers. And if you look if the order, it lists those essential workers, medical practitioners, members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, members of the Defense Force, and it gives more leeway to we call contractors, persons in the construction field, private banking, but there's specific time for those individuals. This lockdown period, it gives them Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to do the essential business, grocery store, gas station, pharmacies. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, lockdown. You remain at home. Only the event of a medical emergency. You can tag the COVID hotline 311, and once you communicate with the officers at that site, they will allow you access to the roadways to seek medical assistance.
All right, so essentially there is technically no curfew during the lockdown because you're locked down.
You're locked down. That is correct. There's no curfew. Curfew will be like if there's a curfew, we're gonna say at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. is a curfew. You remain indoors. You go home. And that is where the curfew comes in. It'll go from that afternoon, that evening until the following morning.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, so what is permitted during the lockdown? So, church gatherings, funerals, weddings, outside of those 4 or 5 areas that you mentioned, the grocery store, pharmacies, gas stations, water depots, nothing else is happening during this period.
No, other than the construction workers, like I said, the weddings, we have weddings and we have funerals, but they are the order states that must be 5 person, inclusive of the official. No other activities, no other events. Bar, restaurants, close. I know we are seeing where we have persons who seem to breach that order and go to the licensed premises and are operating. We have taken a person into custody and we have charged the person before the magistrate court where they have been either fined or in some cases or the matter still pending before the magistrate court.
Wow. And you talk about, charging those persons, what are the penalties? I mean, because again, a big part of this is really the enforcement. People have to know and be, have some type of fear or respect for the rules in place, and penalties help to do that. What are the penalties for not adhering to the rules of the lockdown? Well,
the fine varies, and in cases where you find the persons operating business establishment, for licensed premises, you find the fine varies between $10,000, or you get up to you get a jail sentence, or you can get both fine and jail sentences, as the case may be. But if you want to, the whole idea of the pandemic or orders, the lockdown, the curfews, is for safety.
Right.
It's for safety, and I think we as a country needs to understand that this is not done individually for no individual gain. It is done for the safety of our nation. So we just ask the residents, homeowners, business owners, to, if you're not sure what the order said, you can log on to the opm.gov.bs and you can read all of the orders that are there, and you can say to yourself, okay, I have been in breach of this order by walking on Kilby Strip, when order states that you must exercise within your neighborhood from a certain period from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. We still see some persons going beyond that period, and when questioned, the response is, I did not know. I did not know. So we encourage persons, if you have the access to internet services, to get online and read the order. If not, call the 311 hotline and let us inform you, let us brief you. I guess the more we inform or we educate, the less we'll see persons in breach of the orders.
Okay, well, that's a very important point, because I mean, you do see some people that are still exercising even during the lockdown. But again, so you can exercise during the lockdown, but it still has to be within your immediate vicinity.
In your neighborhood. Within your neighborhood between 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
All right. So the 311 number. So, I mean, again, some people think that the 311 is you only call that when you're going to be out on the streets, but you can actually call them and talk with them if you need clarity on anything related to lockdowns and curfews.
And that is correct. That is correct.
All right. So there's a new, I think it's called the COVID-19 Enforcement Unit that was established just recently. Is that for contact tracing? Can you explain exactly what that unit will be doing?
Well, the COVID Enforcement Unit is where we persons who are being monitored for the COVID coronavirus. They are then, it's a system we call, a platform called the Hubcap. The Hubcap. That platform is where we register persons who are going to be monitored. Once they arrive at their residence, we initiated what we call a geofencing around that residence that an event persons breach. The ambassadors or the persons who are monitoring those individuals can either call them by phone to inquire about their welfare, or in other cases they can visit the residence to ensure that persons are adhering to the instructions given to them as relates to remain at home. We know from cases sometimes persons going to say, okay, if they put that app on my phone, I'm going to leave my phone home and I'm going to go. But there's no telling when the officers will visit your residence, and there's a hefty fine. You can be fined for breach of not adhering to the Hubcap as relates to the remain at home during your quarantine period of 14 days. So that unit is up and running. We are persons now monitoring. The headquarters is situated at the Cable Beach Police Station. Once we work in conjunction with the Ministry of Health surveillance team, once persons have been identified, they are then entered into the surveillance, they are entered into that platform to be monitored. And it's a 24/7 monitoring, and the all clear is given to that individual to leave from the Ministry of Health personnel.
Okay. Any final words you'd like to say to the entire Commonwealth of the Bahamas? Because again, this isn't just a New Providence or Grand Bahama thing. This is straight across the board, across the islands. We all have COVID fatigue, but at the same time, we still have these measures and protocols in place, and you still have to do your job.
Yes, and you said it, you used that phrase, COVID fatigue. And in the course of commuting yesterday, many of the motoring public who I would encounter, a lot of them express the damn, I can't take this no more. Then this will say, I'd say to them, this is something that we as Bahamians, it has to be where we look at the gold, the aquamarine, and the black and say, hey, this is our country. We have to make this country safe for us. So the protocol set up as relates to wearing of masks, the social distancing, to not gathering in large numbers. All these protocols are set up for a reason. If you see, once we would have relaxed those orders earlier, you see the numbers increase. So we have to go back to basic and say, look, let us go back to where we started. Let us do those things to ensure that our country is safe, that we are safe, and we can beat this. We can beat this if we all adhere to the rules and regulations as relates to the lockdowns, the curfews, and the basic protocols for the COVID-19. So I say to my Bahamians in Abacos, to Inaguas, let us remain safe. Let us stay at home. Let us continue to read those orders and abide by them. Other than if we don't, we will continue to see a rise and then the lockdowns and the more frustration. So the more we adhere to it, the less we'll see we'll be able to beat this and move on.
Well said. Thank you so much, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mr. Craig Stubbs. Thank you again for the work that you do on behalf of all of us as Bahamians. Extreme gratitude to the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And your sermon will be shared with my colleagues.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
As disruptive technologies go, nothing has shaken up the economy more than the smartphones. Apps have completely changed the way we book taxi rides, accommodation, and food delivery. Business sectors that previously had no digital footprint are now synonymous with technology. While names like Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, Just Eat, and Deliveroo are household names around the world, on-demand business touches many other areas of life. Enterprises are trying to find ways to engage users to their services. Businesses will be forced to connect with their customers with a personalized effect. The complex user behavior needs to be tackled with enhanced conversation and better engagement. Though each of the on-demand business is different, there are elements of commonality which forms the basis of technology stack. Business and entrepreneurs just need to focus on their business operations, not technology. JungleWorks is providing complete tech stack on subscription model to help businesses grow.
One thing, two things, blue thing, old things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right, and in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
Welcome back. Doctors Hospital Health Systems, DHHS, is at the fore of treatment and testing for COVID-19 in the country. Their comprehensive team of specialists are leading the charge in the fight against this difficult disease. And here to discuss with us are Dr. Charles Digges, Chief Medical Officer, DHHS, and Dr. Sheena Antonio Colley, Chief Medical Officer and Medical Director, Doctors Hospital West, DHW. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning.
Yes, it's definitely wonderful to have you both. Of course, we wish under different circumstances, but I'd like to know, describe Doctors Hospital, I guess, your developments in light of this resurgence.
So maybe I'll jump into that, Gandhi, and let me make a slight correction at the front. Dr. Antonio Colley is our Chief Medical Officer, a sign of how rapidly things happen at Doctors Hospital. And I'm actually the president of the health system, but we're both physicians.
Okay,
thank you so much for having us. To your question, there are a lot of things that Doctors Hospital considered in February, March with the onset of this pandemic. Like all of us, we weren't too certain initially whether this was going to be a long journey or not. And as the journey developed, we were able to pivot and make decisions that we considered to be in the best interest of our patients. So as we go along and as we anticipate the next year, we have thought about a number of things that we would need to do to accommodate the needs of our patient. So one of the things that dawned on us initially was that we had to protect our main facility. That posed a lot of challenges, as you can imagine, because persons who come to us, given the uniqueness of this disease, would not normally be aware that they are infectious at the time of their arrival. So to the extent possible, our main adjustment was to participate in the education, bring the recognition by patients that if they have any concern about whether they are infected, that they would follow a separate track in Doctor's Hospital, that we would initially treat them and send them back home if they're stable. And if they needed to be admitted, then we would admit them to our COVID-focused facility. So probably that's our main thrust.
And I want to get into the testing, because I know you have this rapid testing, but I wanted to ask you all about the influx of people coming into the hospital, because as this thing evolves, they're like, oh, well, I have a stomach ache, or something's wrong with my stomach, or I'm sneezing more than usual. And I think people are on high alert and alarmed. And so do you see a lot of people coming in with false alarms?
So that's a good way to segue.
Yes.
I'll segue into Dr. Antonio Colley. I think that she can answer a lot of questions, especially on the history of our testing, and address, a little more specifically, how do we triage or sort out patients who come with this mix of symptoms?
So correct. And that indeed is something that we see a lot. Obviously, people who are concerned because, we've all been educated on the signs and symptoms of COVID-19, which is the disease caused by the SARS coronavirus. And so once again, yes, people with the sneeze, with the abdominal aches. But we do encourage people to seek care if you are concerned that you are ill in any way, because we continue to treat every other disease other than corona. But also to, yes, people come in and there is that triaging of patients to determine whether or not they are at high enough risk. And then the testing, obviously, because once again, we don't know if we don't test. So, the WHO has encouraged countries to test. And that is the way we will know the hotspots. We'll be able to know the at-risk populations and really get a handle on this disease and on this pandemic. And so in country, we've been blessed to have PCR availability since the beginning of the pandemic. PCR is the gold standard diagnostic test for COVID-19. And initially, the National Reference Lab has been the lab that has been doing most of the testing. Doctors Hospital has come alongside with our own ability to have PCR testing in country in our facility. It is what you call a rapid test. So because our turnaround time is a lot faster than sending it to a reference lab, say in the United States. And usually that turnaround time can be anywhere from a few hours to 24 hours. And so we have been doing quite a bit of testing during this last few weeks when we inaugurated the Nimbus PCR. And we've found that we've been able to assist the surveillance unit of the Department of Public Health in detecting these diseases. And then, as you know, patients who require those high-level treatments, those are the ones that we treat at our COVID Focus Center at our Blake Road facility.
I'd like to know more also too about your team and how they are doing, because we have to consider and think about our healthcare professionals with them being exposed and with the climate and everything that's going on. How's the team doing?
The team is doing fine, and you are correct. Definitely healthcare workers at the front line of this. We feel the brunt of everything that's going on. First of all, we're the ones that are there. We're at risk. We are our risk population. And we take that very seriously at Doctors Hospital. So first of all, the first way what we do for our staff is to educate them. And so our staff received education even way ahead of the first case that came in to the country. Then we try to protect them with providing personal protective equipment for them to make sure that they are safe in every way that it can be. We've also provided testing for our staff as well too. So we do surveillance testing for our staff to make sure that they are safe, because this is a community spread. as well, and they live in the community. And then we also come alongside of them with mental health checks and also to debriefings when patients die or when patients are very ill, and just ongoing awareness and making sure that and checking in on them when patients or when staff are in quarantine. If that happens, we're checking on them daily. We don't just depend on public health to do that. We do that for our own staff. So there's many, many ways we come alongside them, because this is definitely, this definitely affects them significantly.
I have a quick question for you, and then I want to ask Dr. Diggis a question, because I have so many questions, but so little time. At Doctors Hospital West, how many seriously ill patients can you tend to at one time, and what is the visiting protocol like?
So at Doctors Hospital West, we presently have a capacity of 17 places that we can treat patients. And we are actually expanding our capacity as we speak to be able to engage more patients. It is a national center, and so hence the visiting is very limited. Well, there is actually no visitation. The Defense Force is there to protect us and to protect patients as well too. So definitely we have visitation for patients virtually. And so patients who have family members that would want to see how they're doing are able to visit them virtually, but not in person.
So you talk about virtually. I want to ask this with Dr. Diggis. Telehealth, telemedicine, is that here to stay? And my question is twofold. Once people, let's say we find out that the test comes back positive, someone has COVID-19, what's next? And what's the recovery like?
So I'll let Dr. Antonio Colley answer your second question.
So if somebody, sorry.
You go ahead, Gino.
So if somebody comes back positive and they are ill, then we triage them to mild, moderate, severe, just like in most diseases, and determine whether or not they are going to require hospitalization. If they do require hospitalization, once again, we treat them at our COVID Focus Center. If they do not require hospitalization, our team of specialists decide on their course of treatment and their discharge and what we do with them. Of course, we encourage and insist on isolation, and we have protocols in place that were ratified by the Ministry of Health in terms of the isolation and everything that goes along with that.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, Dr. Diggis, telemedicine, what's next and what does someone do?
So telemedicine, telehealth is an interesting implementation, especially in the healthcare space, because it was prior to the pandemic a come along, sort of like a cute alternative. And in physical presence for patients was the standard, and it was not truly regarded as a default. And so with the pandemic, the virtual space, changing how patients visit physicians, changing how we work, even as demonstrated by this format that we're currently using, the virtual space has become the priority space. And so telehealth, telemedicine, given our uniqueness, the archipelago of the Bahamas, so many remote locations, it becomes vitally important for organizations like Doctors Hospital to embrace the virtual space, virtual consultations, virtual visits, even to the extent of sending out healthcare providers into remote locations and then communicating with them to assist the provision of healthcare in these communities, as you can appreciate, is perhaps one of the strongest advantages that an institution like Doctors Hospital, who is a tertiary level type acute care facility, is one of the great advantages that we can have when we're able to communicate and see and provide interventions in that telehealth medicine.
Well, I know that we're certainly grateful for you. The public is certainly grateful for you and your service, and we thank you. And we want to encourage you all to stay safe as well. This is a conversation that we definitely need to continue. I have so many questions, but thank you so much for your time today, and we'll be sure to check in from time to time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back after this.
One thing, two things. Blue thing, all things. Things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
Good afternoon. First response. How can I help you?
I've been in an accident on West Bay Street. Can you send someone to help?
Yes, ma'am. A first response team will be there in 15 minutes. Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, but a bit upset.
We're glad you're not hurt. Please, try to relax. Our team will take care of everything as soon as they arrive.
First Response provides immediate on-site service and support from the scene of an accident through the claims and repair process. And it's free to all Bahamas First insured drivers in New Providence every day for any type of accident. If you drive and want first response on your side, call 321st or visit bahamasfirst.com for the name of an authorized Bahamas First agent. First response can't prevent an accident from happening,
But it can certainly ease your mind when it happens.
Business in the Box is your solution for business from Cable Bahamas. It's an internet, voice, mobile, and advertising solution all in one place. Get reliable internet, free domestic call, and a live corporate package, and free TV ad placement, all starting with packages as low as $164 a month. You can save over $3,000 a year. Just call 601-8911. That's 601-8911. And ask for Business in a Box from Cable Bahamas Business Solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise, Midway Point Friday edition. I'm Philip Simon.
I can't even guess what. Phil.
Yes.
I have a question for you, because you know what the funniest thing is with Zoom and these Zoom meetings, right? Do you see, especially when people, I guess like some older people, and it's like about 50 people on a Zoom, and people are trying to see how to mute and unmute? I love it. I love it. What has been your biggest, or I guess favorite highlight with the Zoom feature and conducting all of these meetings? A lot of people doing it for the first time.
Well, you have to always be prepared. Sometimes, there's some secrets on how you have your background, how you have your lighting, how you dress. But you always have to be cognizant of your surroundings. Let me just put it that way.
You know what? I have a lot of friends, and some people, politicians, whoever it is, because you get dressed, right? And so you're dressed on the top, and then you have like slippers, so you just have socks.
I wasn't going to say it, Gandhi, but listen, you had but let me jump back for a second, and so much more to go. But I like the way that Assistant Commissioner of Police Craig Stubbs ended that interview by saying that, listen, we're all in this together. I want to restate that, right? Because it appears as though not just in the Bahamas, but around the world, and we see manifestations of this, particularly north of us, that the politics of things gets in the way of the progress of things. And we have said this from the very beginning here on this show, March and even before then, that we cannot allow politics to intervene. And the only colors that really matter right now are those of the black, the gold, and the aquamarine. And if we don't get this right over the next couple of months, we are going to be in severe trouble.
Yeah, I mean, and then we look at so many things, but like you say, politics should not get in the way of progress. And at this particular time and this season, we just came out of independence. We are called to be statesmen. We are called to be nationalists, and we're called to do whatever we need to do to make things happen. And then I saw, did you see the advisory from the United States to tell people to not travel to the Bahamas? I said, is this for real?
Yeah. Well, I mean, not just them. I mean, other countries are doing and considering the same thing. And, you know, it just basically says at the end of the day, Gandhi, that, you know, we're Bahamian. We have to kind of get our house in order. There will be a time for the politics. And in fact, it's coming real soon, and everybody will have a voice and a say. But for the moment, there's one Bahamas. There's one Bahamas, and this is a serious time.
But you know what I did? I did while you were on with the commissioner, and the commissioner was teaching me how to catch crab. But while you were on, I actually called 311. And I called 311, and they were very polite. They were very helpful. I said, well, what can I do today? You know, and they said banking, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And they told me the different things that I could do, and the food store. I was like, okay, well, what time is curfew? Because someone tell me it's just road Friday, right? So they said that the curfew is 10 o'clock, but that's if you're working. And most businesses close at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, the ultimate time. And so you have to be home, or you should be home by 6 o'clock, by 7 o'clock, the latest.
Yeah, but you know, again, they make it very clear that, you know, there's really no such thing as curfew during lockdown. You go out, you do what you got to do, and then you go back home, right? Okay, unless you have an exemption under the emergency orders.
Maybe we could do a show about where people go. Where are they going?
Maybe we should. But let's finish this show up. We have Dr. Nakia Forbes. He's going to be giving us an update on where we are and where we're going with the COVID-19 in the country at this time.
Yeah.
And you're talking more crab, huh?
Yep. Catch the crab crawling. And I am excited about that. And I am excited to see it all go down and to see it happen. So we're going to skip on over to the big yard and see how it goes down with Craven and Andres.
But Godfrey Burnside is still here. He's going to give us our second look with weather at sunrise. You know, these lockdown weekends always seem so beautiful. Anyway, Godfrey Burnside.
Ooh. Weather.
Weather at sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First in Insurance, today, tomorrow.
At weather at sunrise, the tropics. The tropics this morning is quiet, and tropical storm formation not expected during the next 5 days. On the local scene, have a ridge of high pressure that continues to provide some light and gentle breeze across the islands, but we're watching a upper level trough across Meguani and Argo moving towards the west, and that will trigger off some showers and thunderstorms during the weekend, but they'll be in portions occasionally during the weekend. In your marine forecast, winds east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet, but falling light and variable on northwest Bahamas, 15 knots, sea 3 to 5 feet over the central and southeastern islands. On Saturday, they continue east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet over the northwest and central Bahamas, 15 knots, sea 3 to 5 feet over the southeastern islands. Then on Sunday, those winds become variable at 10 knots or less, seas less than 3 feet on northwest and central Bahamas, east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet over the southeastern islands. Your tides. You can expect a high tide at 11:09 this morning. Your next low tide at 5:16 this evening. High gain tonight at 11:24. Sunset will be at 7:51 this evening. Rises tomorrow morning at 6:41. UV index 9. Your water temperature 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and your moon phase. We're now moving towards the last quarter. Weekend outlook, lovely weekend. So weather-wise, partly sunny skies, still hot, still humid, but you can expect 1 or 2 showers or thunderstorm by afternoon. Though temperature daytime will be in the low 90s, at nighttime around the 80-degree mark. That puts a wrap in your fun look at weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Phil.
Thank you very much, Godfrey. 10 new cases yesterday, bringing a total to 761 confirmed cases in the country, 654 of which are active cases as we head into another nationwide weekend lockdown. So very happy to have with us this morning, once again, Dr. Nakia Forbes, consultant, infectious disease consultant at PMH and at Doctors Hospital, a very busy doctor. Good morning, welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. Dr. Forbes, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Good morning, Bahamas. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
So here we are once again. It's been a really interesting past 2 weeks. The numbers have just been soaring through the roof. Summarize where we are today with COVID-19 in the Bahamas.
Yes, we know that we had our first case in mid-March. I would consider that the first wave. We had about 104 cases. Initially, those cases were in clusters, and we saw fewer cases. And what we found is those cases that we were diagnosing after the end of that first wave, we were into contact with other persons who were known COVID-19 positive in networks and other small cluster outbreaks. And we enjoyed a period of time where there were no cases for quite a while.
A little bit of an audio problem. Can you repeat that, Dr. Forbes?
I hope I'm not having an audio problem, but are you hearing me better now?
I'm hearing you better now, yes.
Okay, wonderful. So in that first wave, we saw that these cases were mainly cluster cases, that they were associated with other persons who were known COVID positive or in certain outbreaks. And we enjoyed no cases for quite a while. Grand Bahama had no cases for almost 2 months, and we enjoyed weeks after we had no cases that were diagnosed. But some noteworthy things happened. We opened our borders to international travel. We reopened and relaxed some of our restrictions, and there has been a second wave of cases, quite a concerning number of cases from since that happened. And so, as you said, we found ourselves yesterday with 761 cases, and the need for officials to recommend implementing restrictions and movements and curfews to try and curtail this increasing exponential spread.
You know, you would have mentioned, in fact, medical experts would have mentioned many times that this thing can come in waves. You talk about a first wave, and then there's an anticipation of a second wave, and maybe this is our second wave. How many of these waves can we expect? And is it just a matter of human behavior that causes the waves, or is it related to the virus itself?
I'm glad you asked that question. So what we have to look at is the global experience, because remember, this is a new virus that we have no experience with before. So let's look at China, for example. They were the first country to really have to wrap their arms around this. They had strict lockdowns, and they were able to reduce spread. They were able to flatten the curve, which is a term we've been hearing tossed around for the last few months. But as you can see, there and in a number of other countries, with the movement of people, reopening travel, there have been second waves. There are countries, including the Bahamas, that did get control of the virus at one point that are now having to tackle resurgence of the virus. And an interesting point to note is that this may not be the end of that. After you have a second wave, if you flatten the curve, you could have a third wave or a fourth wave. Why am I saying this? Because there are some interesting things that we're learning about this virus as we go along. One question is a vaccine. You know that a lot of work is being put into vaccinology so that we can have immunity, so that there's something that we can take to prevent us from getting COVID-19. That's probably, if it comes to the line, is successful. And if it works, That probably won't be available until 2021. Then we have to consider accessibility. How do you immunize the world's population? And so if there's no vaccine that works, then coronavirus will always be here, because let's look at the global numbers today. According to the Johns Hopkins dashboard, which I really like, there are 18 million plus cases of coronavirus reported. Over 700,000 persons have died of coronavirus. It is abundantly clear that this virus is not going to go away. As a matter of fact, the WHO Director General came out and said there's no silver bullet. That's the term he used. Coronavirus. And so if there's a possibility that it will always be here, like a flu or cold virus, then you can expect that it's going to surge and dynamic, seasonal, worse in the winter. It can be worse in some countries at certain times than others. And so that's very concerning. That being said, what do we do when we have concern? The appropriate reaction is not irrationality and fear. It has to be, what are you gonna do? So the sooner we get used to these precautions that we take in daily life, this so-called new normal, where we avoid crowds, we don't get close to people, we wear masks in public and avoid closed spaces, and do all of those instructions, physical distancing, hand washing, don't touch your face, to prevent getting and spreading coronavirus. We may be battling this for a very, very long time, and that's the sad reality.
That is a sad reality, and it just makes me think, well, the Prime Minister, he always says when he comes on and implements these emergency orders based on the advice of medical experts, we have the curfews, we have the lockdowns. Well, if the virus is here to stay and the vaccine is just, obviously not necessarily right around the corner, from a medical perspective, I won't get into the politics of it, but why is it so important to have these measures in place when they have been having such a catastrophic impact on society, on our economy, but it is important to do still?
Right. So this gets complex because there are a lot of factors at play. So there's the health factor, which I'm going to speak to. But when we consider these restrictions, remember it impacts socialization and it impacts the economy. But this is where officials will recommend that we do a curfew or lockdown. When you see the curve, we look at the curve, there is a talented, hardworking team that works unceasingly at the Ministry of Health. The surveillance unit, those nurses, what they are doing is above and beyond. I really want to give them credit. That we look at the number of cases that are reported every day. We look where they are in our audience. Cases are going up to exponentially. What does that mean? It's a big term, right? One person with coronavirus can infect about 3 people. There are certainly people who can spread to more people depending on their interactions. If you go to a huge party, you could infect 100 people. So we know that in a short period of time, those 3 people can infect 3 more people. It can get out of control. I say mushroom because it gives the idea that it can suddenly spread. What do we do to stop the spread of coronavirus? It was something you said. We don't get close to other people. We wear masks in public. We try to avoid interactions and visiting places we don't have to go. If you don't have to go to 3 restaurants, if you don't have to dine out, if you don't have to have a party, don't do it now at these times. We are in a pandemic. We are in a global outbreak of which the world has never seen. That's just the absolute facts. But we know that instructions, people often know instructions, but do they carry it out? And so if people are doing these things still, socialization, they're not really adhering to the mask wearing. You drive out to work, you see people gathered, you see the mask is below their nose, that they're not wearing it, that there are still parties, that people are hanging out at pools because they maybe don't think that they're vulnerable or maybe don't think it's a big deal. What happens is the virus continues to spread. It probably is not such a big deal if you're just having 1 or 2 cases. Arguably, it may not be such a big deal if you're just having 1 or 2 cases and everybody is fine and not getting terribly sick. But the reality of the situation is when you have a lot of cases, when you have 40-something cases a day, that's a lot, right? We have to remember that some people will not do well with coronavirus. Young people can die of coronavirus. There are plenty of reports where young people have to have double lung transplants, where they're put on ventilators, where they don't live. And I'll tell you, as a frontline doctor, we just about can do hardly anything for you. If you have to be on a ventilator, you're probably not going to make it through. No. And so this is where the restrictions come in. If we're having so many cases per day, and the healthcare system is in threat of being overwhelmed, that means we won't be able to support persons and people will die. And so we do this to save lives, notwithstanding that there is going to be social fallout and economic fallout, but we try to save lives and do the best for all. That's where that comes from.
All right, and you know, we certainly appreciate all of the efforts that have been put in from the health officials and yourselves. I did have, there have been so much talk recently about, you know, treatments and what works and what doesn't work. You know, you hear about the hydroxychloroquine, you hear about the dexamethasone and so many others. Are any of these showing promise as treatments for COVID?
Yes. So that is guided by science. I need to say something because this is very controversial. When you have an outbreak of infectious disease, people are afraid. That is one reaction. Let's look back in time. When HIV first came out, people were afraid. I'm so glad that's different now. Ebola, SARS, it's the same. The swine flu, remember the swine flu and the panic that ensues? We at our heart and our soul are human, and we have human reactions. And sometimes human reactions when you're faced with something unknown is anxiety, fear, irrationality, and hope and optimism. The hope and optimism is good, but we sometimes hold on to things that we hope and think may work, but scientists do something different. When we think about cures, and you've heard of all kinds of cures, you've heard about bush medicine cures and many things. When we have to treat patients, we have to look at the scientific facts. We live in a time in medicine where we practice something called evidence-based medicine. It cannot be because Dr. Forbes thinks that this is going to get you better, or Dr. Anthony Fauci thinks that this is going to get you better. It cannot be who is the most persuasive, who has the most clickbait, who says the most phenomenal things, although there is a sector in society that gravitates toward those things. So when we think about treatments, we want to know of many persons put on this treatment where all the biases were removed. Did people get better faster? Did more people live? Did they come off of ventilators faster? Did they have a shorter time battling coronavirus? And again, let me say, did more people live? That is how we decide that something works or doesn't work. And there's a lot of intense scrutiny in the scientific community for so-called treatments. Let me tell you the experience we've had to date while we all wait and hope optimistically and contribute to the global pool of knowledge so that there's a cure. Remdesivir did shorten the time that people had where they were ill with coronavirus from about 14 to 15 days down to 10 days. Dexamethasone seemed to work out of the studies out of the UK in terms of people who were sick with coronavirus. They needed oxygen or they were on a ventilator. That seemed to have improved their situation. It didn't work for people who didn't need oxygen. It had a tendency to do harm. There was a newer agent that's still in clinical trials, the RLF 100 that we read about, that seems to be helpful. But again, those are still in clinical trials. So we have to wait for the pool of data for all of this to come in. You hear about hydroxychloroquine. There have been some studies, but they haven't been the best quality studies. And there is the propensity for it to do harm if combined with some antibiotic therapy, to the point where expert societies, the World Health Organization and the Infectious Diseases Society of America, of which I'm a member, and we do have treatment guidelines for COVID-19 and pneumonias associated with COVID-19, do not recommend those hydroxychloroquine at this time. And so you cannot discard that. And it's irresponsible to continue to recommend it said, it doesn't mean that the scientific community won't change its mind later on when we have more quality evidence. But we have to be careful because, as you correctly said, this pandemic is being politicized, something that really, really is hard for scientists like myself. It's being linked to political leaders, their opinions, and other political factors that can be damaging. There's a term called politics and pandemics. Scientists would like to keep that separate, but they do get mixed up sometime. But for all good, clear thinking people, I would say we speak science, and at this time, we don't have the evidence that would work.
Okay. All right, listen. So we continue to do what we do. We wash our hands, we keep safe distances, we wear our masks.
Thank you for that. Very important. The sooner we get used to that, the easier time we'll have and be able to hopefully resume some semblance of normalcy.
Thank you so much. Dr. Nakia Forbes, infectious disease consultant at the PMH and Doctors Hospital. Doc, again, thank you so much again for all that you do. It doesn't go unnoticed, and continue to keep safe yourself.
My pleasure. Always happy to be here with you. You all take care and be safe. Be safe, Bahamas. We'll get through this.
Yes, thank you. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
As disruptive technologies go, nothing has shaken up the economy more than the smartphones. Apps have completely changed the way we book taxi rides, accommodation, and food delivery. Business sectors that previously had no digital footprint are now synonymous with technology. While names like Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, Just Eat, and Deliveroo are household names around the world, on-demand business touches many other areas of life. Enterprises are trying to find ways to engage users to their services. Businesses will be forced to connect with their customers with a personalized effect. The complex user behavior needs to be tackled with enhanced conversation and better engagement. Though each of the on-demand business is different, there are elements of commonality which forms the basis of technology stack. Business and entrepreneurs just need to focus on their business operations, not technology. JungleWorks is providing complete tech stack on subscription model to help businesses grow.
Business in the Box is your solution for business from Cable Bahamas. It's an internet, voice, mobile, and advertising solution all in one place. Get reliable internet, free domestic call, and a live corporate package, and free TV ad placement, all starting with packages as low as $164 a month. You can save over $3,000 a year. Just call 601-8911. That's 601-8911. And ask for Business in a Box from Cable Bahamas Business Solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, Bahamas. What an interesting conversation we're having on and off air. Well, during the summer months in Andros, crabbing is a way of life and a vital source of income for families. We were in Andros recently and found out more about this activity. Here's that story.
We are still here in the big yard and we're talking all about sustainability. When you think about Andros, there's a few things you think about. You think about water, you think about pine, and you think about crab. So we're here talking about crab with our good friend Cintish here in Nicholstown. Thank you for coming on the show. So we're here in your yard and we're surrounded by crabs. I see crab pen to my left, crab pen to my right. Tell me, what's the crab culture like here in Andros?
Okay, the crab culture in Andros is good. This is the way this is the way of life for some of us. Mm-hmm. We catch crab, we pen them, clean them, and send them to Nassau, sell them.
It's a way of life.
Yes, it's a way of life. Yes,
so I've heard that there's so many crabs in Andros that you could just stop in the road and pick them up. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. As you drive along the road at night, you see crabs crossing the road, so you could catch crab at night, yes.
So when does crab season begin? And tell me what crab season is all about.
Okay, crab season begins in May, but it varies. Sometimes it opens early and it closes late. But
so once the rain starts to fall, the crabs come out?
Yes, the crabs come out. Of course the crabs crawl.
So crab crawling. So tell me, what's a typical crabbing night like for you when you go to crab?
Okay, when I go for crab, I normally carry like 3 or 4 sacks. When I come back home, If it's a slow night, I probably come back with 1 sock, but if it's a good night, I come back at least 2 sock, 3 sock.
Great.
Yes.
So you come back with your crabs, and then what's next?
Come home, I put them in the pen in the night. Next morning I get up, I feed them banana leaf, coconut, pumpkin. If I have if mangoes are around, a lot of people use mango leaves and dilly leaves.
Hold on. Say that again, because I know people in Nassau don't know about this, because when you see the crab in the pen, all they're getting is white bread. So these crab you can get, they got dilly, they got mango, they got pumpkin.
Banana leaf, dilly leaf, and mango leaves.
And they say the
also
crab
coconut.
tastes like what you feed it.
Yes.
So it sounds like you got some of the best crabs around.
Yes, you bet right.
So on a good haul, you would send a certain amount of crabs to Nassau.
Yes.
So tell me what's that like? How many crabs do you usually send to Nassau, and when is the busiest time for that?
Okay, like when crab first start working, that's the busiest time. But when in a sack of crab, if you send a sack of crab to Nassau, the sack could hold at least 6 dozen crabs. And I normally send like 20 dozen on a boat.
And so you can sustain your livelihood and your life just off of crabs, sending it to Nassau?
Yes. Through this whole pandemic with the coronavirus or whatever, that's how I was living, because I use my time, catch crab, ship them up to Nassau, sell them, and that's how I could take care of myself.
That's amazing, because there are many people who have been negatively affected by COVID-19 and the pandemic, but you found an opportunity to capitalize on the wonderful resources of Honduras.
Yes, I did. I just catch, when I catch crabs, and I just sell any crab, I clip them, use the fins, I boil them, break them out, and I make stuffed crab with the meat from the crabs.
Oh, that's awesome. So you not only send crabs to Nassau, but you add some value to it by cooking different products, and you sound like it's pretty popular, right?
Yes, stuffed crabs.
I think some of our crew members have already put in an order for some stuffed crab to go back to Nassau.
Yes.
That's great. So when you're in the field and you're crabbing, is it just you that's out there, or is the community wide? Is everybody crab?
Everybody crabs.
Yeah.
Everybody crabs. It's community wide. You just go, put on your tennis, your long sleeve, everything, and hit the bush.
So tell me, I never catch crab in my life. How am I supposed to catch a crab? What's the technique?
I need to show you.
You're gonna show me?
Yes.
All right, we can. As soon as we're done talking, you can show me how to catch a crab, right?
Yes.
Now, if I get bite, we got to cut that from the film.
No, not even. You
ain't gotta worry about that?
No, that's fine.
So tell us anything else you want to tell us about crabs. What do you love most about crab and crabbing?
I love crabs. I just eat a lot of crab now. I can tell you that. But I love crabbing. Crabbing is fun. When you have nothing to do at night, this relaxes your mind, going crabbing. Everybody on the road having a good time, so it's fun. Crabbing is fun.
Yeah, I've been here and I've seen the cars on the side of the road at night, and I thought it was a party. There's a crab party.
Yes.
Crab party in the bush.
Yes.
So when you go out crabbing, is there a particular place you look for the crabs, or are they just everywhere in the bush?
They're everywhere. You could just as you go for crab, if you drive and you stop, you can see crab, you can get it. If you stop in the bush, you can walk to the bush, and you can catch crab through the bush.
Catch it.
Yes.
Close your eye and catch a crab.
Take a chance. You take a chance.
Santish, you've given us a lot of insight, and you've informed us a lot on the potential of crabbing, not only for people living in Honduras, but for people in New Providence who love to consume it. But there's also potential for value-added products, like you said, stuffed crab, baked crab, selling crab meat
crab
by
and
itself.
dough, yes. And
What else can we do with crab? Give me the quick rundown.
Stuffed crab and rice, crab and dough, garlic crab.
Oh, yeah.
So much things you can do. Yes, a lot of things you can do with crab.
Salad.
Crab soup, crab salad. Yes.
Oh, we can be here all day. I'm hungry now. Well, we heard a lot about crab. Now come teach me how to catch one.
Let's go. Okay, Mark. This is how we catch crab here in Honduras. When the crab is on the road, release, you just put your foot on it and hold it back, hold it down, and take it up in your hand.
That bite look a little big. It ain't gonna bite my foot.
Don't worry about that.
I scared.
Little biting ain't doing nothing.
I
That's good
scared.
for you.
I ready.
Stevie,
I'm from Nassau. I can catch crab.
Way to go.
I have a new profession. I am a crab catcher.
Way to go.
You're a good teacher. Sound like we getting crabbing tonight. Ah!
Yes.
I got my first crab in the bag, or crab in the hand. Look out for this one in Nassau, $100 a pop. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Bahamas at Sunrise. Thank you so much for joining us faithfully, as you always do, Candy. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, so this is my first time hosting Bahamas at Sunrise, co-hosting with you on Zoom. So I've been taking notes and I've been getting some things right. So when we come back next time, we'll have some Zoom tips.
Well, good. Listen, we encourage everybody to continue to be safe. Very, very poignant and real words from Dr. Forbes. Listen, the bottom line is we have to boost our immune system and continue to practice safe protocols.
Stay healthy, don't stress. So like we were talking about in the beginning, toxic people, relationships, all that kind of stuff. This is a good time to say it over.
That's another story for another day. Listen, have a wonderful lockdown weekend, and we will see you again real soon.
Be safe, Bahamas. Bye-bye. No stress.